Welcome back to the Voice of Business podcast. We're here in Bennett's beautiful showroom with our wonderful furniture, and big thanks to Janice Odigsky with Odigsky Media for shooting and producing this podcast. My guest today, Kayleigh Hindman. You're the general manager, Hampton Inn. We get lots of policy stuff we can be nerdy about.
I'm very excited to nerd out over policy with you, specifically local.
Tell us a little about what you do and
So day to day, I handle the operations for Hampton in Peterborough. So that's everything from scheduling, organizational structure, pricing strategy, and just being in tune with the local community. Part of my job is just kind of knowing what's going on so that we can predict market trends and price accordingly. And that's one of the benefits of being part of the chamber is having, kind of your thumb on business and seeing what's happening and knowing about events before they're announced or getting excited about things just happening in our community.
Yeah. Now, every time we chat, one of the first things we end up going to is workforce. Let's just go there right away.
Yes.
So, working in hospitality, there are certain challenges around that, and we've seen a big shift over the last number of years, right? Coming out of the pandemic, just the way the workforce shifted in the service industry in general. Tell us a little bit about your challenges at your location and what you're doing with that.
So we're good, which is really nice. We would happily take a couple more staff, which I'm very, very pleased about. But let's remember that the hospitality industry in Peterborough and the Kawarthas and the surrounding area employs 2,500 people. And those 2,500 people, a lot of them are students. A lot of them I'm a large employer of single parents. So it's about having that kind of flexible scheduling, which doesn't always align up with what you want to do or how the market is going. And I know I'm not the only, specifically hotel that does that. So we offer flexible scheduling to make sure we can keep our staff kind of going where they need to go. But the workforce is changing, and it's hard to keep up with things that are changing as quick as the workforce is.
Yeah. Okay, and you've often employed a number of international students.
I have.
So tell me a little bit about, it's a highly political topic these days, right? Different levels of government and the community's talking about international students. But from your perspective, as the people who are coming to work for you, what are their expectations? What are their issues that they're running into locally?
So locally, it's on average 3 to 5 times more expensive to go to school as an international student than it is as a domestic citizen. So a lot of my staff are struggling with cost of living, access to housing, access to transportation, and the 20-hour work cap, because it was supposed to move to 24. It's still unfortunately at 20. Kind of puts a burden on that. I know that when I was in university, I worked 3 jobs and nothing stopped me from doing that. And one of those jobs was very much full-time. And it sucks to watch them kind of hit a barrier that they don't have an input in and that they can't work past, because it's not that they don't want to work. A lot of my students are honor roll students. And I have domestic students that have come to me and been like, I can only work 2 shifts a week because I am drowning in homework and I am bad at time management. And you have to respect that side of things too. But the people who want to work and want to keep up their average, I worked 3 jobs and I was Dean's List. And it sucks to watch them suffer as a result of just their cost of living and not being able to work enough hours to compete with that. So.
Yeah, and one of the areas that we've talked about before with some challenges is about people getting to work. And when you're dealing with people who may be new to Canada or younger people just not having cars in a very car-built city, how is it with our transit system getting people in and out?
I would like to see a lot of improvement to our transit system. You can't hold somebody accountable for being late when you have to consistently forgive Peterborough Transit. Because it's terrible for the other employees who drive, because they can't be late, because I know that they have a car and that they have an access to a car and that there is no reasonable excuse for them being 15, 20, 30 minutes late, texting me being like, I'm gonna be later because I had to call a Y drive or a U ride because my bus just didn't come. So, and when we're talking about things like housekeeping, departments like housekeeping, we're talking about time is of the essence. Checkout is 11, check-in is 3 p.m. It takes 30 minutes to clean a room. If you don't have any early checkouts, hey, being late's fine. But if you have some early checkouts, we want to get in, we want to get that job done, we want to get it up to our standards so that we can rent it to the next guest. And when transit's 30 minutes late, that's an entire room.
No, fair enough. Now shifting a little bit to the hospitality sector as a whole, And so I get a lot of these reports coming in, different economic updates, and hospitality often seems to be at the worst end of whatever graph that is, right? When we're talking access to capital, so there's the financial end, labor force, and just plain business confidence and optimism. There's just so many factors going on that seem to hit that industry a bit more than some of the others. What are the things we need to be doing and focusing on to build a stronger hospitality sector? Because it is really important to our region as far as our tourism, which is a big part of our economy here.
Tourism is a huge part. So it was estimated 665 million in GDP over the next 5 years. 75% of tourism spend in Peterborough and the Kawartha region are people that are spending the night.
Yeah.
So it's not people who are flying in for the day just to run and do groceries. And we're also factoring in that tourist is defined as somebody coming from more than 40 kilometers away.
Yeah.
I think it's 90% of Peterborough and Kawartha's tourism are people in Ontario.
Yeah.
So the barriers we're facing is like, hey, how do we start attracting people from outside of the 40 kilometer region? There are, I think it's like 3 million visitors annually.
Yeah.
So, and 6 million people are within the 320 kilometer radius of Peterborough.
That's a few people.
That's a few people. There's a nice
hotel.
There's a nice one. They can fill every hotel. When this is one of those industries where when it rains it pours. We all benefit. When I'm sold out, so is everybody else.
Yeah.
Which is great because we all have a very collegial relationship.
Good.
But we'd like to see a more stable workforce. We'd like to, see stable transportation. We'd like to see more people coming. We'd like to see business in the midweek instead of just on the weekend.
Yeah. And is it really just that summer tourism, or how is it as far as the year round between the hockey tournaments or different events that are going on in the community?
Statistically speaking, for the hospitality industry, it's always been April and November are the slowest months.
Yeah.
So I would like to see some business diverted there. But wedding season is getting longer and longer. I'm still hosting weddings. I'm still quoting weddings for next year going into September, October.
Yeah.
We will slow down a little for November and take a chance to breathe before we fully get into hockey season.
Yeah.
But I still have winter weddings. We still have winter conferences. So we are good, we're stable, we're planning ahead, and I think that's really important. So we're already selling out summer 2025 at this point.
Good.
And I hope most hotels are doing the same.
Yeah. Now you talk with your colleagues outside of just hospitality, right? And I know you're involved in the broader tourism picture there. And what are you hearing from those other players in the tourism sector?
They're also discussing an us versus them kind of mentality. So there seems to be this local drive where we don't want to see tourists because they're taking up space and they're taking up, our favorite restaurants.
Like within the community is.
Within the community.
Yeah, I see. The tourism operators aren't saying that.
No, we're not saying that. We're happy.
Yeah.
I think tourism operators all understand that, a hockey team is going to go to Boston Pizza. That is perfectly fine.
It's going to be loud. It's going to,
And that's fine. Boston Pizza is still a franchise location. We do want to see them do well, but it'll drive locals to more local restaurants. It will still increase spend in the city.
Yeah.
It's a large portion of our GDP, and it is only growing.
Yeah. No, and I think a lot of people have discovered us more over the last few years, if nothing else, when they couldn't travel abroad. But and some of our local spots definitely seem a lot busier than they were before. But I'm not sure how much of that is just seasonal as well. But anything on the policy end that you would love to see supported and built up for the tourism sector or hospitality or
I would like to see more drive towards removing hour caps, specifically. And I would like to see universities and colleges understanding what the government means when it says an hour cap, because I had an issue with my master's students where what was technically their summer break was not seen as a scheduled break by Trent University. And that was a terrible position to put my staff into because they felt they could only work 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a little more, when times are bad, they're really bad. When times are good, they're very good for us. I would like to see some more support when times are bad. The pandemic was an interesting time. I know that a lot of money was put into tourism, but tourism isn't just hotels, motels, and restaurants. It's product development, it's building businesses, it's building the economy, it's
housing for your workers.
It's housing my workers. I would like to see affordable housing.
Yeah. No, fair enough. And so just sort of to cap things off, well, what needs to be done to grow our tourism sector here? I feel like we have a lot of potential, and we have a very beautiful region, and we've got some great restaurants and businesses, but what do we need to do to get to that next step?
I think the industry is changing. I think we're moving more towards a leisure kind of style, which is, people who are coming here for work and then are forced to eat in the community because they're here for work and they're doing long stints for work, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
So we know that wedding season's getting longer. We know that more people are getting married. We know that there are just more people coming for sports tournaments, but we don't need weekend help anymore. We need midweek in February. We need to see more conferences, more employment lands, more factories.
Oh, speaking my language, employment lands in the conference center. That'd be
get me
great.
Employment lands, because those are the guests that we see every day. Those are the guests that my hotel has long-term guests that have been with us for a year, might be here for longer if their contracts are extended.
Yeah.
And they're doing their work every day. They're spending in the economy.
Yeah.
We need to see more of that, because that's business I rely on every single day.
Yeah.
As opposed to just, my summer weekends.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Well, Kayleigh, thanks so much. Appreciate you joining us for the podcast.